everyone. Welcome back to the Pat and Matt podcast. I am Pat and he is
Matt.
And this is our 5th episode. I can't believe it's already been 5 episodes. And today we will be talking about the Super Bowl game and halftime show, the Marshall soccer game, the Arsenal game, and a teaser.
That's right, bud.
So let's get started with the Super Bowl game. What are your opinions on the Super Bowl game?
So Pat, we're just talking about the game right now.
Uh-huh.
All right, Pat, I think you know what I'll say. You've known me for a long time. Do I like college football or pro football better?
College football.
Like college football a lot better. And I'm just talking about the game itself. The NFL's got a boring problem.
Yeah.
You know, anybody that watched knows that I picked Tom Brady against Tom Brady. I was wrong about that.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of that, Pat,
Yes.
I was really disappointed in the game itself.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan or a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs, was there anything exciting about that football game? It was a snooze fest. What do you think?
Yeah, it was a snooze fest. But there's one thing that was pretty funny. A guy ran on the field. They call him the Super Bowl streaker. And here's the funny thing. He put a bet on himself. He betted against 5 other guys, like $20,000 that there was not going to be a Super Bowl streaker, or there was. And he turned out to be the guy, so he got all of that money.
He took it into his own hands. But you know what I find interesting, Pat?
What?
We're talking about the Super Bowl streaker and not the football game.
Yeah,
and
but that was in the game, and he scored more touchdowns than the Chiefs.
That's right. And here's another thing that Pat and I always talk about. I really don't like to ever complain about the officiating because that's part of the game.
Yeah.
But Pat, this whole game was decided by 3 penalties. The first one, the Chiefs player lined up he did line up offsides for the field goal. But the next 2 were 2 questionable pass interference calls, and that was the whole game. By halftime, the game was over. And unless you like to watch 10-yard screen passes, if that's what you really like about football, it was pretty boring. So that's my take on the game.
Yeah. Well, the officiating was not very good.
No.
They're in Tampa Bay, too. They're Tampa Bay's home arena. I bet the Chiefs did not like that because they had a big ship in the background with the Tampa Bay flag going.
That's right. And one other thing I'd like to say, and I do mean this, when you're talking about, we've got a special appearance by Maggie Kelly.
Yeah. Maggie Kelly wants to come in real quick and say #Free Britney.
Free Britney.
Free Britney from Maggie Kelly. Okay. Anyway, we got to get back on.
I don't know.
I don't know what that was about.
Me neither.
But anyway, Pat and I always talk about this. You know, Tom Brady is the Super Bowl champion, and what do I always tell you, Patrick? When you want to win something against the champ, you don't only have to win. What do you have to do? You have to beat him.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs didn't beat him. I mean, it was questionable, pass interference calls.
He's the GOAT, Tom Brady?
Unfortunately, he is. I mean, 7 Super Bowls. How can I argue with that? I still think Joe Montana's the GOAT because he never lost one. But
also,
that's
he went
just
to
me.
Notre Dame.
Well, maybe that's part of it. So now, Pat, I'm more curious. What do you think about the halftime show?
The halftime show, I didn't actually watch the halftime show. I watched The Office. I watched The Office during the halftime show.
Well, you watched it up. I mean, we're going to talk about the halftime show, so you've got to know something about it. Did you watch any part of it?
I saw he get right into the camera. I didn't really like that. That was kind of weird.
Well, I did like the halftime show, and I want to say this. Going into the halftime show, I didn't know who The Weeknd was. I'm a big The Weeknd fan because I did a little research, Pat, and I didn't realize that at one point The Weeknd was homeless, and not only has he become a star, he put $7 million of his own money to the halftime show, and he purposely made it family friendly because he wanted the whole family to be able to watch and not have any questionable moments. So,
like last year's.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of The Weeknd. Now, what I will say about the halftime show, and I thought it was because of the pandemic, it was more like a concert.
Yeah.
But I think it had to be that way. It wasn't like a show and a spectacle.
People couldn't come on the field for it.
Right. And then usually it's like a big spectacle. Do you remember when Katy Perry rode an elephant onto the field? You remember that? So you watched some of it though because we talked about it. I think Pat's trying to be a funny guy. He did watch The Weeknd. He watched the halftime show.
I watched maybe 3 minutes of it.
Okay. Well, you watched some of it
minutes.
though. Did you watch the end of it when all those folks were dancing on the field?
With his mask?
Yeah.
I saw that on TikTok.
Well, you watched the halftime show then. Anything else we want to say about the Super Bowl? I think we recapped it. What do you think?
No, I think we should get into the Marshall soccer game.
All right, take it away.
So let's get right into that. Marshall soccer tied yesterday 1-1. It was like an ice box out there. It was freezing. my feet. They were cold. I wore 2 pairs of socks and they're still cold. And I think Marshall, they need to improve on shooting because some of their shots they had went over the bar and some easy goals they could have had missed. But on the positive side, they were knocking the ball around good. I say they're pretty good. They're pretty good at corner kicks. They know what to do on corners.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is about the Ohio Valley University. I do not like Ohio Valley University. I went into the game not knowing that was even a college. And I went out of the game knowing that I hate them. There's 3 specific players I want to name. Numbers. And if they're watching this, I don't like you. Number 19, he was flopped. He flopped every time if someone got near him. Number 9, he would just try to get in people's heads and he would run over and take the ball if they were trying to do it like a free kick or something. And number 3, because he took 8 years to kick the ball. Oh, and also number 33, the goalkeeper, because he also took 8 years to kick the ball. But I liked the game. It was a good experience. There's a good crowd there.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it.
Wasn't it fun being back at a soccer game cheering on the herd? You know, I think I agree with lots of what you said, Pat. You know, I think what Marshall's going to have to get used to this year is they're ranked number 9 in the country.
Yeah.
People, they're going to bigger expectations, and they're that team now that everybody circles on the schedule. So they're the hunted rather than hunters anymore. Another positive was they stuck to it and tied the game up in the 87th minute. This was a game that could have been really easy to get frustrated because they were the better team. You know, we're big Marshall fans, but objectively, they were the better team.
Yes,
they had the possession. They were knocking around. But just as Pat said, you could tell it was the first game because a lot of shots that I think they'll convert as the season goes on. They had so many more corner kicks, so many more shots. But how much fun was it to be in the stadium cheering on our herd? Wasn't that awesome?
Yes.
You know, aren't you proud of the team? I sure am. And I can't wait. We're going to be, the next game is Saturday, February 20th. And do you think we'll be there?
Yes.
We will be there. All right.
Okay, so I think that wraps up our Marshall game, soccer game. So we're going to say the Arsenal game today. So Arsenal pulled off the win. They scored four goals. I got kind of worried at them at the end. They let in 2 goals they shouldn't have.
They were up 4-0 at one point, right, Pat?
But the big thing, Aubameyang had a hat trick. That was big.
And you know what, Pat? I was thinking about that. We said, I think it was our first podcast, what had to happen for Arsenal to get better? Who had to get better?
Aubameyang.
I mean, I don't know if this is coincident or not, but as soon as we said that, Aubameyang has started scoring again.
Yes.
So maybe he's watching this podcast and we just don't know it.
Yes, maybe he puts it on the foreign language. And what else is there? Oh yeah, we played the guy who had him in fantasy, but guess what? It was on his bench. So hopefully all of his players play, because then he won't get in there, and we might have a chance at winning. And that is Adrian and Aiden.
What else, before we go into fantasy, what else about the Arsenal soccer game did you like?
I liked they were playing fast. They weren't just knocking it around.
Right.
They were getting chances. Bellerin got on the score sheet too.
That's big. I agree with you. They were being much more direct. Before, what they were doing is they were just going down the side of the field, and like you could tell the defense wanted to go that way. Now they're more direct, and they cut towards the box, and it makes those defenders get a little confused. So they were in charge of the game. Like Pat said, they were up 4-0, 60 minutes into it, gave up a couple goals. We like to, clean that up a little bit, but, they're up to 34 points. I'm excited about it, Pat.
Yeah, so...
And we were talking about fantasy. This is our plea for fantasy soccer.
Okay.
Every other fantasy sport we've ever been involved in, if you don't put your player in the starting lineup,
they don't get in.
They don't get in. What happens in fantasy soccer, we can't get used to this, is...
If their players don't play, then he comes in for some reason.
Right, so in soccer, you've got 11 players, and part of fantasy sports is you have to check your lineup, right? Any other fantasy sport, if you put in somebody that's injured or not on the roster anymore... Say you've got 11 spaces, well, you're just playing 9 players. In fantasy soccer, they automatically substitute somebody in that wasn't playing. So there's literally players that have been playing for all year that haven't changed their lineup since week 1. And if you're a fantasy player, part of the deal is what, Patrick? You check your lineup every week, and if you don't put somebody in that's not playing, you don't get the points. That needs to change.
Yeah,
Do you agree or
I
disagree?
completely agree.
All right, all right.
So I think that wraps everything up.
Let's. Yeah, we're getting to the teaser.
The teaser, since this month is kind of dry for sports, we're going to do Marshall and Arsenal game, obviously, but we're going to do a theme episode next week. It's going to be our favorite sports movie. So better watch, and if you have your favorite sports movie, you can email us and tell us, and we might include you in it.
I'd be really interested. I'd like to not only talk about what our favorite sports movies are, and like Pat and I always do, he's not going to share his with me. I'm not going to share mine with his. We might have ideas.
I think I know his.
Well, but you might be surprised. You never know. But I would really like to know what the viewers are so we could share that, because I think sports movies is a fun thing. And like Pat said, it's February. The Super Bowl's over. NBA's not really getting set up. So let's start doing some theme shows.
Yes. So that wraps everything up. Make sure to like and subscribe. Email us, the patandmattpodcast@gmail.com. And also, we have a new social, TikTok. Our TikTok is the Pat and Matt Podcast, no spaces at all. We already have 4 videos on there. But just to let you know, I don't think I've informed anyone about this, but I'm going to make sure to put the TikTok name down there too.
That's interesting. Like he's being serious because he hadn't informed Matt of the Pat and Matt podcast about I'm excited about the TikTok. That was, you just threw me for a loop right there.
Yeah.
So like, subscribe, and what else? Next week, please share your favorite sports movies.
Comment down below, ask us questions.
We check it, or I should say Pat checks it.
So thank you for watching. We'll see you next week, Saturday.
See you, everybody. Bye.
Hopefully Saturday, if not Sunday.